We're going to move on to step 6 just so we can get through actually submitting the case. But we've talked a lot about these maps and the connections and everything else. So I'll get to those, what they look like, how they're working, what the kind of the behind the scenes technical pieces are of those after we submit those cases. And we'll come back and show you how to manage those, review those, and then even change your radius if you need to update locations in different pieces that you're looking at. But step 6 here, moving on from that, is crimes. The rest of these steps become much simpler than connections and adding all these details in. But crimes here, you'll see a list of options as I get back into the portal. They all consist of the NCIC codes. You're going to select, once you put in your different crimes, which is the primary offense. There needs to be at least one that has a primary offense. And why that's important is that's going to show on the citizen side. So selecting the primary offense, being able to update that and publish that for the citizens is what's really going to show on their side, and then even be a naming convention, which I'll show you a screenshot of. Show you this live in the system, but essentially in screenshot 3 here, as I pick my crime type, aggravated assault, and say this is my primary offense, you'll see in screenshot 4 is actually what's showing for the citizen. So important for your own documentation of the actual case itself, especially if there's multiple crimes, but also extremely important for them to be able to see what is the crime, not just that it was a crime, but what actually was it specifically, what is the type, and how is it attached to the case.
It's a whole lot more interesting when you're looking at a case card, because remember, some of these folks may not have an account yet, or they may not be connected to that case. So if your case is homicide plus petty theft may not get people excited. So make sure you when you look at the primary case, it's usually the most serious or the most violent one, because I hate to say it, but Cerise knows this from her background too. It's if it bleeds, it leads, right? People watch crime dramas not to see some guy get a speeding ticket, but to see the chases, and the dogs and everything else.
What I have here is a great example of that. We have a homicide and robbery, and so I've marked that homicide as the primary offense. The homicide is what's going to show on my case card then as I submit this, and it goes to the citizens. The case crimes are, again, not limited to any amounts. There is one caveat of this, so this is why I'm training to it today. If instead I wanted to mark the robbery as my primary offense and not the homicide, you are currently having to come in here, mark my robbery, and now you're going to see here, I actually have 2 primary offenses. This is a piece in the future to update and make this, less clicks for you on your side, but you do have to kind of change that off switch, right? Turn robbery to yes, switch homicide to no. I call that out. It's less important. I mean, it is important here as I create it. It's more important as maybe you're coming back into these cases later on and you're adding different crimes to it or changing these crimes. You do need to make sure you're changing that primary offense. And then not only clicking next or exiting this page, but I do need to republish this case. So we'll get to that stage in a second here, but I need to go to case publish that. That's essentially your save document button, you could call it, to actually say, I'm going to save this and put this onto the portal to update it.
Hey, Jake, real quick too, guys, and don't treat this like a charging document. You're not going to list, I would suggest not listing every single offense the person did, because if you've seen some of these cases, I hate to, sometimes agencies do stack charges. It doesn't need to be that. If you really want people to know all the crimes, then put that in the public link. Say he's also been charged with, or the warrant's being sought for this. What you're really doing is just remember, this is about marketing. You're marketing the case. The most important thing I would say here is homicide, right? But you also want to know that there's robbery involved too, because that starts providing a little context. You can put the rest of this information in the public links, and even in the public area, the description and the public links, put a link to your press release that you found for the department that says, here's all the charges this person is being sought for. So just make life easy on yourself. Don't feel you have to enter every case, but if there's 10 charges, enter the 2 most or 3 most serious. Just realizing is that it's all about locations. It's really not about how many crimes the person committed. It's about how many locations you have with the case. Real quick, Johnny asked a question. This is actually something I did before when I had connected to the case. It's that media blast to people living within that geographical location. They've deprecated some features on Facebook. We used to be able to target certain things based on even political affiliation and religion. There are some ways to identify neighborhoods, especially on Facebook and things like that. So part of the integration in the future is that feature to where not only can you take a link and it'll be a friendly URL, but in Facebook itself, when you start saying, hey, and really, an agency would have to have an ad or a budget for ads, because really what you're running is an ad. You could actually target, here's what I want to do. I want to target this demographic or these places or these people. Facebook becomes a very good targeting vehicle because that's what they do. They collect demographics, psychographics, all sorts of information on people. It becomes a very good way to target people, but that is a future roadmap thing, Johnny.
Great questions, though. Keep those coming. So as case crimes, biggest thing I want to call out there is at least picking one minimum crime here as your primary offense. There's nothing really in the system that we can, we have set up right now that's like requiring us to have you pick that primary offense for at least one. Again, something to add in the future to ensure that users, as they're using this, are very much including that in, but calling it out here for training to have at least one set as the primary.